What's up, fungal associates? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary. This is the podcast about trees and other related topics. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Alex Crowson. And of course, over there on the big green couch, we have a Casey Clapp.
It's me, I'm Casey, and I'm here on the couch. You said it all. What else is there? Hey guys, hi everyone.
Hi Casey.
Hello, Alex.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I got a sore neck today.
That's right, because
That's right.
you were doing a little bit of bangheading.
I was bangheading in a pit of mosh the other day.
That's wonderful.
As you would put it, because you've no idea what that even means.
You saw one of your favorite bands play.
I did. I saw Horse, the band.
Yes.
Now, not to be confused with Band of Horses. Those are two different bands.
Oh.
And as I would describe this to my friend Scott, who asked and said, this might be a stupid question. I said, no, Scott, that's a very reasonable question. But they are essentially the opposite sonic experiences.
Oh, sure.
It was great.
Not to be confused with Band the Horse.
Yes, also, there's a lot of horses and bands out there. And it was great to see him. I went down and spent the time in San Francisco with my friends Maria and Gabriel, and we went and watched it. They live down there, so it was a good excuse to spend the weekend with them and go get a lot of Frisbee in, and then a lot of just very, very rambunctious smashing into people who are having a wonderful time.
How fun.
It's great. Yeah.
I mean, for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. You probably would have been like, I need to leave. I need to leave immediately. Why is that guy screaming?
Is there a balcony seat I can sit in? Well, I'm glad you had a good time, Casey.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. That was very, very good. Very, very, very lovely.
While you were doing that, I was here in the Portland area.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
Did a few things. But one of the things I did this weekend was finish the book I was reading.
Oh.
The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. If you'll recall, the last time I read an excerpt from a Christopher Buehlman book, The Daughter's War, about the teleporting through trees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
There's one other really interesting tree thing in this book that I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
In this world of Christopher Buehlman's design, there is a tree called springwood.
Okay.
And when you cut the tree down and use the wood to make things, the wood survives. So they make ships out of it.
Uh-huh.
And you say you have a naval battle, right? Oh, you blew a hole in your ship.
Yeah.
You just take your ship to port, hang out for a couple of weeks, and it will grow back over the hole.
It regrows itself.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a strange concept. First off, we need to let Christopher know that that's not how wood works.
Well, yes.
It's the cambium that's a lot. Anyway,
this is a magical world, Casey.
I'm sure that there are numerous holes that he's already thought about.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to throw any shade.
I think he would probably say, who gives a fuck?
It's
fantasy.
Well, excuse me.
But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting concept.
That is.
Wood that keeps on living after you take it off the tree.
Yeah, honestly, that would be such a fabulous thing to have. If you built a house, got smashed by a tree, and then you just took the fallen tree off and then just slowly let it rebuild itself.
Totally.
Well, cool. I'm glad you're reading a lot of tree related fantasies, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like this author is really good with tree stuff.
Yeah.
Casey, speaking of tree stuff, we've got a bit of a tree stuff to do ourselves this fine Tuesday.
Interesting.
And today we're talking about another one that I was shocked we hadn't covered.
Yes.
The Knobcone pine. But we'll see after the break. Right here on Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary.
It's like no time has passed.
Yeah, it's like Narnia.
Did you guys listen to those ads?
Please go listen to the ads.
We're just kidding. Go get a subscription at Supercast. Then you don't need to listen to them at all. No,
yeah,
that's easier. That's a way easier way to do it.
Arbitrarypod.supercast.com. You get ad-free listening. And if you're in the Cone of the Month Club, you get cool cone stickers every month. And a couple of months ago, the cone sticker in question was this Knobcone pine.
That's right. And it's now tattooed on my arm.
That's right.
I have it.
Casey's got it up near his pit.
Yes, because I like to, when my arm is down, it's closer to my heart.
Oh. Well, what's the scientific name for this guy, Casey?
This is Pinus attenuata.
Attenuata.
That's right.
Okay.
Attenuata means slenderly tapering.
Yes. All right, Casey, well, let's imagine that you and I are, I'll say, eastern United States. And we come across some Knobcone pine. Let's ID this tree.
All right. First off, you're going to be like, what the fuck? Why is this here? It is, in fact, a native to us here in the Pacific Northwest. It's native to southern Oregon, essentially from about the McKenzie River, which is about Eugene, Oregon in the Cascades, all the way down through Baja, California.
Okay.
But it's not really like a forest kind of tree. So you're not going to see it just kicking it and be like, wow, there's a whole forest of these trees. They kind of just grow in these sporadic groves in the high kind of dry areas on really denuded soils, rocky outcrops, that kind of thing. You can find them growing in that kind of space.
They like that tough living.
They do. They're tough trees. They're tough trees. They like the tough living, and they don't grow the way you expect a pine tree to grow.
How so?
Well, most pine trees, they have that what is it, podal growth or unipodal, I guess maybe is what the term is, where it's just one stem with branches that come off of it. Your classic pine tree, classic fir.
Decurrent?
Exactly. No, X-current. You got it. You're so close. This grows more in a decurrent fashion, where it usually has 1 or 2, 3 stems that come up and then have upward-facing tips on their twigs. So it constantly looks like a tree that is growing kind of up and out with many different branches, kind of doing it all at once.
Yeah, it's a very energetic looking tree.
That is a great way to describe it. I love that. And it is a native, like I said, of these weird, harsh areas that tend to have a lot of fire. And that's going to come up a little bit later.
Fire.
A lot of fire.
Okay.
So as these trees grow up, they tend to grow in big populations, or like big groves where lots of trees are growing right next to each other. But they don't create whole forests of this. It's more like, oh, there's a whole bunch right over there. Wow, there's a whole bunch right over there. They always kind of tend to feel a little bit kind of like scattered family groups almost, is how I felt about it. That's just my opinion about it.
Okay.
So getting a little bit closer, you'll notice 2 things. One, that they have needles that are in fascicles of 3.
A 3-needle pine.
3-needle pine. So those are only about maybe, 6 inches long on average. Okay. They're light green. They're kind of twisted. They are not really intense. So when you see a ponderosa pine or a Jeffrey pine, you'd be like, whoa, those are big, long needles of 3. Knobcone pine, they're not really that long. They're just kind of like, man, it's kind of a little soft. You can kind of see through the whole canopy. They're not super intense.
Now, the fascicle, is the 3-needle fascicle also, did they come together like a perfect pie graph?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So you could pull them from the bottom and pull your fingers up, and they would all fit 3s, essentially a circle that's cut into thirds.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So they would do that if you tried. Of course, these ones, like I said, they're kind of slightly twisted, a little bit of curve in them. So it'd be a little bit more difficult than normal, but they're slender needles, to say the least. Now, the other thing that you'll notice, Alex, is as you see all these interesting branches with all these kind of upward facing tips with these little needles coming out, that just below where most of the needles are these giant armor-like cones.
Yes.
Now, I guess I shouldn't say giant, but they're in groups of like 3 to 6 or more.
Yeah.
So they look like they're these big growths that kind of happen every whorl. So you'll recall that a whorl is as a branch grows up and it has, or as a stem grows up, I suppose in this case.
Every once in a whirl.
Every once in a whirl, Alex. Well, I'm sometimes so disappointed in myself. Not even think about these things. I say them out loud, and then it just passes right over me.
You should be proud of yourself for not thinking that way.
I'm proud of you for thinking that way for my behalf. So what happens?
It's a sickness.
It is not a sickness. This is our entire brand. So what happens with a whirl, every once in a whirl? Now, see, now I'm just forcing
Nice,
it.
Casey.
Damn it. Thanks, Alex. So as a stem is growing up, a whorl is essentially when you have multiple branches or leaves that come out from one spot.
Right.
So a whorled branching pattern is the classic pine, where you have a stem that grows up, then you have like 6 branches that come exactly horizontal, then a stem grows up, and then on and on. You have those like very like, there's a layer, there's a layer, there's a layer, there's a layer.
Okay.
So that happens, but that's where they put out their cones too. So you get these little cones that are growing in these whorls where you have, boom, there's like 6 cones, there's 4 cones, there's 3 cones, there's 5 cones, all down the stem.
At the same intervals as the stems?
It would have been at the
branches?
at the where these new branches would come out, or where the new leaves would come out.
Okay.
So the best way that I think everyone should kind of understand this is to give it a Google. Because you'll notice if you go to our, say, website, you can actually find a couple examples of this, where you can see these kind of trees with these stems that are covered in cones, where as you look from the top of the tree down on any given branch / stem, it is covered with these armor plating looking cones. Boom, 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 boom. Every single time there is a new season of growth, there's a new set of cones. So each year they have this kind of successive building of new branch, new set of cones, new branch, new set of cones, all the way down. And they stay like that for sometimes up to 30 years.
Wow.
So this isn't just like, oh, yeah, I keep my cones for, a little every now and then.
Yeah.
This keeps its cones for decades.
Wow. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I like where your head's at, though. I love the why question, Alex.
Wow.
This also is serotinous. The cones are serotinous.
Good.
Now, I say that because they stay very tightly closed along the entire stems for decades sometimes. Okay. They only open up when a fire comes through.
Oh, okay. So they're not even seasonally letting out their seeds.
Nope. Sometimes they will just keep them enclosed for as long as they need to.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So what's it waiting for?
Yeah. Fire.
It's waiting for fire.
Okay. So they're waiting for fire to come through.
Exactly.
The cones go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's hot in here. Let's open up the windows. Oh, no, my seeds.
And then all the seeds go falling away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, another thing I should note about these cones and the way they do this. So we call it knob cone because the cones are angled down towards the base of the stem.
Yes.
And then as they do that, they essentially are inset, so they grow. Their kind of tips are curved towards the stem that they're attached to.
Like big claws.
Yeah, but that means that, of course, they can't grow towards the stem.
Sure.
So they kind of grow more bulbous on the outside. And the cone scales on that convex side have those little knobs. That's where we get the term. They kind of have these larger, kind of umbo, swollen apophyses kind of bits.
I actually don't think knob is the best name for that.
Oh, you don't think so? What do
I
you
think of a knob as like a knuckle, like a little bulb, like a bubo,
Yeah, all right. I see that.
or like a doorknob, literally.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is more like a hump. I don't know. Don't you see that?
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. I would describe them, though, altogether as knobby.
Okay, that's fine.
Like you see a knobby thing.
It's a bit knobby.
Yeah.
It sounds very British.
Yeah, it does. Okay, yeah. Oh, it's a knobby.
Fucking knob.
It's a knobby cone. Yeah, that I think that was ooh. Put the E on this episode, you guys.
Oh, knob. Okay, interesting.
Gross.
This is spiky like a cat penis.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Especially, sometimes, those little knobs can actually get a little hook on them, become a little bit sharp.
Yikes. If for anyone trying to think about what this might look like, you don't have access to Google right now. I will say, the moment I saw it, I was like, oh, that looks just like that turtle-like dinosaur.
Oh,
with like the morning star as a tail.
Yes, totally. Yeah, that's exactly
flat
it.
to the ground.
Yeah, it's got these sharp things all over it.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it's like. I think that's a great description.
Hey, thank you.
Use your imagination, folks, per Alex's request. So you might notice if you keep your cone for 30 years, the stem will continue to grow out that you're attached to.
Oh, no.
You being the cone in this example.
Okay.
So it's not uncommon for the knobcone pine to actually grow up and around and envelop the cones that are still attached to it as it gets larger in diameter.
That seems like a huge design flaw.
It's got to be a huge design flaw.
Like you're going to keep your cones, that's fine, but when a fire comes around, it'll let all of them go in one big whoosh.
Totally.
That's pretty smart. But if no fire comes around, you're just going to eat your cones.
Yeah.
Dumb.
It's dumb because I would say even if they do eat their cones and they're like, nom, 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 nom. No, I didn't use those. That's actually fine. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's kind of like a spider eating its unused web.
Sure. Oh, God. Do spiders do that?
They do. You didn't know that.
Wow,
Yeah, they make a web, then they eat the thing up in the daytime, and then they rebuild another one the next day.
Okay.
Next night, I guess.
Interesting.
So that is something that you could find if you actually cut through one of these logs.
Wow.
You could actually see fully enveloped cones inside of the wood.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It's like a fossilized cone.
Yeah, exactly.
Petrified. That's so cool.
Yeah. So here's the thing,
Wow.
though. Like you said, Alex, there's no there's no good reason to do this. Like, that's a fair critique, I'd say, of this tree. You're like, why? Just let the seeds out. Just do it. Just let them fall. Let them go.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
If a fire comes, and the cones open and let their seeds out, do the cones then fall off the tree?
No.
They just stay.
They just stay.
So there's used and new alike.
Yes. In fact, I was talking with good friend August, friend of the pod here, and he went down to see a bunch of knobcone pines and had noted that he saw one that had both open and closed, and he's pretty sure that a fire had come through, opened some of the old cones, but then some of the new ones were put on after the fire, so they hadn't opened yet.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so they'll stick on. The cones themselves will almost never break off of the tree unless something weird happens. I don't know, maybe a branch falls or hits the ground, you know, something like that. But like they just sit there, they don't decay, and they just remain on the tree.
And in terms of why, can I give you my theory? Is that going to fuck up our tale here?
I don't think so, no.
I'm assuming, when fire comes through, it clears away the small plants and gives some nutrients to the soil. And so that the knobcone is like, ha, see ya, suckers.
Yeah,
I've got fire retardant built into my fucking bark, bitches. And then it lets all of its things go.
A little pompous, knobcone pine. A little pompous.
Well, it's my personal interpretation. It lets all its seeds go, and there's no competition.
Yeah.
It's like a first responder.
Totally.
Okay.
Now, you're not wrong.
Uh-oh.
That is what I like to call a fire-resistant species.
Yes.
A fire-resistant species is like the ponderosa pine or many different species of oaks or sequoias, that kind of thing.
Would you also call them fire-adapted?
Well, this is a version of fire-adapted.
Okay.
Where I have come up with 3 kind of big main ones that I want to compare and contrast and juxtapose against each other.
You do love a juxtaposition
I sure
of
do,
trees. It's your next book title.
A juxtaposition of trees in 3 parts. So
This is your one-man show.
people are going to be like, I'm signing up for that.
It's a 3-act one-man show. It lasts 7 hours.
7 hours, and you cannot get up and go to the bathroom. You must be watching it the whole time. 2 drink minimum. Okay, so you got these 3 different ways, right? The first one is what you've just described.
Fire rolls through. It's resistant to the fire. The bark is resistant to the fire. Opens up the seeds.
Exactly. And then they have a whole beautiful space that's primed and ready to have a new crop grow up.
A clean palette.
Yes. So that is specifically fire-resistant trees.
Okay.
So, like I said, ponderosa pine, Douglas fir, longleaf pine, Oregon white oak, giant sequoias, redwoods, bur oak, these kinds of trees that love to just sit there, let slow, small fires go around them, go beneath them, and then they're just like, ooh, ha, okay, we're cool. This is one version of fire adaptation.
Got it.
Now, before we jump to that tree, let me tell you that there's also the resprouters. This is the madrones of the world, which they take no real effort to stop fire. They don't try to keep themselves alive like all their upper stems. Manzanitas and eucalyptus also do this, where fire comes through and they're just like, ah, and their head burns off, and they just regrow themselves from the roots.
Okay.
So they're like, whatever, I don't care. This is everything everything up here. This is just temporary.
Sure.
I'm just using it right now.
That's beautiful.
It is. It's really great.
And then its roots are fine because they're underground.
Exactly.
Maybe a little warm.
Maybe a little hot, a little toasty. So those are the resprouters, and they just great, we're just going to grow back. But they don't really put a lot of effort into like keeping their above ground spaces alive.
Okay.
Versus fire resilient species, as you just noted.
Resilient as opposed to resistant. Okay.
Now, do you know the difference between resistance and resilience?
I do, Casey.
Taylor May.
Because I used to play World of Warcraft.
Well, you can say you still play. It's okay.
I don't, I swear.
All right,
so resistance is like you're wearing armor against something. If it tries to hurt you, you resist the pain.
Yes.
You resist the damage.
Okay.
Now, resilience is you've been hurt. How quickly are you going to rejuvenate?
Yes, that's perfect. Exactly. So that is what the knobcone pine does. It specifically burns the entire population up. It is not wildly fire resistant in terms of its bark or its adaptations. Like the longleaf pine has thick bark when it's older, but it has long needles that protect the candle when it's younger. So fires will come through, burn the hell out of it, and then it just is like, woo, and keeps growing.
Wow.
So knobcone pine, they essentially put up no effort. They burn up immediately.
Oh, no.
Now, I shouldn't say burn up immediately because they're still there, like the physical tree is there, but it's dead. It dies fairly quickly when fire comes through.
How does a tree die to fire?
A tree dies to fire in a few different ways. Mostly, the cells get too hot and get damaged underneath the bark, and it kills them. So it kills the cambium layer, and so it cannot move things up and down.
Okay.
And then it dies. Most of the time, when that happens in the resprouters, they're like, great, I don't care because everything underground is still good enough and I'm going to send up a new canopy over the next couple of years and regrow in my space.
So that's like there was an earthquake and all of our infrastructure was destroyed. We have to move out of this city.
Yes, except we have put all of our children along the outsides of all of our buildings. And we have put them in these really tight casings, and we're not going to let them out until that earthquake comes through. When that earthquake comes through and destroys everything and kills all of us, the earthquake has just the right frequency to open up these little pods, and then all of our little babies come out. They're like, wow, cool, and a whole new, brand new, great world filled with literally nothing. I will start anew.
Wow.
That's what the
It's
knobcone
just
pine
like
does.
that.
It's exactly like that, Alex. I can't believe that you were so visionary to see that.
That is a great, I don't even know if that's an analogy.
I think it's a perfect analogy. Every time we build a new story on a building, we put a new layer of our children along the outside.
We tape them to the outside.
Yeah. But don't worry, they're fine. They can stay like that for like 30 years. It's okay. That's exactly it. So the knobcone pine does not survive forest fires or wildfires that come through. They die along with all the other things that are on the ground that die too. So just like you said, all the shrubs, the undergrowth, all the little things usually gets burned up. Animals usually are fine. They run away and they come back. Yeah. So as soon as that fire comes through, that then warms up all of those cones and they go and they open up and they release their seeds, and then you have hundreds and thousands of seeds from the last 30 or 40 years spread throughout this entire population area, and then they grow back just dog hair thick.
Now, this is interesting to me because the seeds don't go bad while they're in stasis for 30 years.
They just chill. Yeah.
They're fresh, brand new seeds when they come out. How is that possible?
Don't know.
Isn't that a ton of energy for the tree to use to keep that shit alive?
It's already put it in there. It's not keeping it alive.
It's just made it and then it put it over here and it sits there.
Seeds are fascinating.
How does it not go bad?
Don't know. It just sits there. Some seeds can do that for hundreds and thousands of years. Not even thousands. Actually, I know at least one magnolia has done it for 1,000 years or more. Way more than 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so it can happen. Some seeds are able to live for a really long time. Others are not.
Seeds are crazy.
Yeah, so this is part of that adaptation, right? So this tree has developed the ability to have its seeds just kind of sit there dormant in situ for as long as they need to.
I guess it's a decent strategy.
Yeah, it is. It seems like it. Obviously, it's worked really well for this species.
Yeah.
It is one of 3 species, like I said earlier, that do this. The Monterey pine and the bishop pine also have the same strategy. They will keep their cones forever. They will get burned up, and then they will release them, and everything will happen again.
Interesting. It is interesting to me. You mentioned these knobcone pines are not found in like knobcone pine forests.
Yes,
they're in little stands here and there. So I'm like, ooh, I wonder if that is a good strategy for this tree.
Yeah.
If it's like dumping a ton of seeds at once. What if there's a flood right then?
Yeah, like a big rainstorm comes through, washes everything away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 30 years of hard work down the drain.
Totally, yeah.
Literally.
Which is probably accurate, Alex. That's probably is exactly what happens. Usually we get our big fires in the fall time.
Okay.
Then we get a bunch of rain that comes through. That's why it's a big issue in terms of the winter after a forest fire where there's no trees and no soil stability. You get a lot of big landslides then.
Oh, interesting.
So here's the thing, though, Alex. These are minorly successful, I would suppose, because the success is enough that the knobcone pine can grow like from Southern Oregon to Baja, California.
Sure.
It's a huge, space. But the other two grow in the tiniest zones that they are, even though like Monterey cypress is considered corn, and it's the most common pine tree in the Southern hemisphere, completely, like full stop.
Wow.
That tree growing natively in California, it's like 3 tiny little groves that, like, if you sneeze, you missed them.
Yeah.
So it's not wildly successful for that tree in a strict sense. It's not wildly successful for the bishop pine because it also has just like a handful of groves here and there. So maybe people had a lot more to do this, and there was, used to be more trees elsewhere. Who knows? They also hybridized. So there's actually I think it's Pinus attenuata.
Wow.
Is the natural hybrid between the radiata or Monterey pine and our knobcone. So maybe it is just that it only worked for this one individual species.
Yeah.
But it's early succession. So if there isn't a fire, then it will grow and turn into, say, Douglas fir forest or redwood forest, or oaks would come in and all that kind of thing. So I think that you're onto something with, like, okay, this seems like it seems like you're playing with fire.
Nice.
In a literal sense. So I think you can only really find knob cones growing where almost nothing else can actually survive. And they're just like, I'm going to grow on the top of this very hot rock, because as soon as a fire comes through, I'm not trying to survive that. I'm just going to reseed myself, and they're going to grow really well right here too.
Interesting.
Everything else is like, it's so dry. I can't really compete. And knobcone's like, I'm doing fine. Wow. Shoots up.
Okay. Interesting.
This is my thought.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. I have not read through all the massive studies, but there's not a lot of studies because this tree is kind of one of those conifers that everyone's like, it's not really, who cares?
Oh.
It's not a big timber species. It's not a tree that is making big, gorgeous old age stands. The oldest one apparently in England that has been planted, they cannot make them live for more than 80 years.
Really?
Yeah. So these are trees that are not the trees that everyone thinks about. They kind of grow fast, live, and then die, and then don't really try to give themselves any kind of longevity or any other adaptations. They're like the classic early successional live fast, die young kind of thing.
They're like the willow of pine.
Yeah, they totally are, except if willow just didn't regrow itself. That's I think if knobcone did that, Alex, if they grew from the base, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Resprouted, they
true.
would probably be unstoppable.
Yeah.
They would grow everywhere all the time.
Knobcone Nation.
Yeah, we'd be a knobcone nation.
And that's nation with a K.
Nation.
Like knobcone.
Oh, okay. I'm like, where does the K go? I don't understand this.
Silent.
All right, I'm with you there.
Fascinating tree.
Yeah, it really is a cool little guy.
I mean, I kind of think of it kind of enjoying the lack of limelight. It's like, I don't want to be famous. I don't want you to love my wood. I'm just kind of kicking it up here. This is how I like to live.
Yeah. You kind of like it lives out on the cliff, and whenever you're like, hey, do you want dinner? And it just looks over its shoulder at you. Clearly it's
it's the old hermit on the cliff.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, okay, sorry, just see you later.
Well, Casey, we got to give a rating to the Knobcone.
We sure do.
And we got to do that after a bit of a break, but we'll be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. That was our discussion of the old knobby cone. You're a bit of a knob cone, aren't you?
Yeah, mate.
You look like a bit of a fucking knob cone.
Now this is just getting too offensive, Alex. We need to stop. We need to stop.
It's not knob is penis, right?
I think so.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I believe that is the case. But one of our listeners from out yonder, you're going to have to give us the nod or the shake on that one, if you know what I mean.
Oh, Jesus. Casey, it's time to give a rating.
Sounds fabulous.
To the Knobcone. Here's how it works. We're going to give some final thoughts on it and give it a rating of 0 to 10 golden cones of honor. As our resident expert, we'll begin with you.
I am happy to start, Alex. I love coming across a knobcone pine because, like I said, they're semi-rare trees. You're not going to find giant forests of them. You're not going to find groves that you're just like, wow, look at them all. You're just going to be, you're going to be walking around. You're like, whoa, hey, cool knobcone pine. That, or you're going to find a Monterey pine and be like, wow, it's a Monterey. Okay. and you just gotta move on. You only find them like in the far mountains. They're tucked away. You gotta go out to them. They're not in the beautiful, perfect parks. I think there's one over at Hoyt Arboretum. So they're a kind of tree that aren't really that interesting. Except for when you find them, you're like, oh, sweet, that's cool. But you're not going to be like stunned and in awe.
Sure.
So it's kind of like they got it, but what they got is I'm not sure, and they're fine, but they're also pretty cool, but they're not. They are an enigma tree for me. I don't know why. I love coming across them. Maybe it's just the rarity, Maybe if I start coming across more, I'd be like, I don't really care about Knobcone. Someone needs to put a fire through here.
Enigma in a cool way?
Yeah, I think so.
Way?
Yeah.
Okay.
In a way, I'm kind of like, nice. I'm drawn to you, and I don't know why.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it 7.9.
That's great.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Wow.
It's also, I feel like it's a little forgotten, Everyone thinks about all the other cool trees, and you don't really think about the Knobcone pine, even though, it's right there.
Totally.
Half the people in the world probably don't know it's native to Oregon. You can go out to the Cascades, the Siskiyous, the Klamaths. You can find them. You can be like, wow, look at that. That's a weird tree.
7.9?
That's what I said. That's what I'm sticking with.
Good score.
Yeah. What about you? You got an opinion on this tree?
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's all right.
Okay.
I think, I think this is kind of an interesting strategy that it's using. Mm-hmm. And I love that it is this is a tree of conviction.
Yes.
Actually kind of reminds me, I just rewatched all of Parks and Rec. But this tree reminds me a bit of Ron Swanson.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of off grid,
Okay, yeah.
Just all, very has conviction. It's just like, this is the way I do things. Mm-hmm. It might not seem right to you. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you're like, oh, Jesus.
I'm living up here on the mountain.
Excuse me, Ron.
Yeah, it doesn't. This tree doesn't care what you think of it.
Yeah.
It's just going to do its thing. And I think that's kind of cool. So I'm going to be giving it 7.25.
7.25. Interesting.
7.25.
All right. I think it's a pretty good score. Overall, somewhere in the mid sevens.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's fabulous for a tree. I mean, like, that's pretty high for how we built it up. The setup sounded like we were going low.
Oh, yeah.
To me.
Yeah, okay, I see. Yeah. Well, I feel good about that. I really do.
Yeah, good old Knobcone.
Absolutely.
Nice job, Knobcone.
Nice Knobcone.
Casey, it's time for a game.
We get a game today.
We sure do.
I had no idea.
And this is an old one of our favorites. That's right, everybody. This is Family Tree. Take two, everybody. It's a common condition in this day and age for Casey and Alex to anthropomorphize a tree. Is it Zeus of Olympus or Saruman? Some people say it's even Admiral Thrawn. Deep cut. There must be some kind of rules to this silly game. But all we can see is an opportunity for a segment on completely arbitrary. Maybe Jean-Luc Picard is an elm of some kind. And the kid from Up is a Ponderosa pine. There's room for use, mahoganies. There's room for the host to disagree. It's a podcast game called The Family Tree. Phew!
Really good job. You know what? I have to admit, whenever you say deep cut, I'm always like, what does he mean by that? So I finally looked up Admiral Thrawn, and I get it now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a deep cut.
I think you can take off a bit of if you chose.
Casey, this is how this game works. I'm going to give us some characters.
Okay.
From some canon, from TV or film or books. And then you and I are going to assign each of them a tree based on their personality, their physical appearance, their character.
I love this.
And we've got a bit of a fun one today.
Okay, what do we got today? What is this? What's this one?
This is Family Tree Dog Breed Edition.
Dog breed is it? So this is a canon of some kind. Is dog breeds?
Yeah, I suppose so. I guess the canon is real life.
Real life.
And I see you've got your computer there, Casey.
I do, and I'm going to need some help with this.
Because this is not like Golden Retriever, Australian Shepherd.
Oh, well.
I found very niche breeds of dogs.
All right, this is good. That was a good choice on your part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first one here
I'm ready.
is called Basenji. 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 Now, Basenjis are kind of a medium-sized dog.
Okay.
They are intelligent. They're very curious. They're also very independent. Now, this is interesting. They're called the barkless dog.
The barkless dog.
Which, a little bit of a double entendre there in terms of trees.
Okay.
Because of their vocalizations. They don't bark like woof woof.
Yeah.
They do like this yodel. They call it a yodel.
Ooh.
And it's this very strange sort of, whoa, 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 you know, like
I'm
that.
gonna listen. Oh, jeez.
Okay, that's enough of that.
I feel so bad for these dogs.
Very cute little dogs, though.
Yeah, they look. There's like two different dogs that I'm seeing here. Three. One is like it's like a Japanese style dog with that really curly tail.
Totally, yeah.
It looks like that one, and then it also looks like a. I don't know if it's like a European dog, but it has like the flattest face. Like the face and the nose are super flat.
Yeah.
And I hate those dogs. Sorry, I don't like them. I think they look funny. And then add in like an Australian cattle dog for, good looks, and then smash them all together.
Yeah.
That's what I see here.
Yeah, it's an interesting looking pup. I think they're very cute. And they have very expressive eyes.
They do. Okay, that is fair. Okay. So do we know anything about their personality? Do they...
Yeah, like I said, they're just found to be very intelligent, curious, independent dogs.
Okay.
But yeah, what's a tree that might suit this dog,
So
Casey?
independent, barkless. Barkless tree dog. This is making me think. So it's got to be a tree that's got not a lot of bark. Obviously, it's got to be thin barked. Loses it every single year. It is an independent dog. It's an independent kind of tree. So no bark, a lot of independence. This tells me it's got to be out growing in the middle of nowhere. It's got to be like a tree. It's a loner. It just kicks it. Doesn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah.
First thing I think of is like a birch.
Sure.
And there is a birch that grows in the central kind of Asian steppe area, which I believe is I guess it used to be Betula platyphyllos, but I believe now it is Betula pendula variety or subspecies platyphyllos.
Wow.
Otherwise known as what I would call, North Asian birch? I can't remember the common name is on
Asian
that.
white birch?
Asian white birch. Yeah, there you go. That's what I would say. It reminds me of right off the top of my head.
I will say physically, visually, it reminds me of a madrone.
Yes. Yeah, that's very fair.
Just like the exact same color palette.
Yeah, they are really beautiful. I like their colors.
Minus the green, of course.
You don't like the green on this dog?
Oh, Casey, whatever will we do with you?
There's nothing to do.
Oh, somebody put this boy down. Casey, next dog. We have the Norwegian Lundhound.
They're kind of funny looking.
Yeah, they look like a little wolf dog.
Yeah, they look like a mix between like a fox and a one of the Siberian hound dogs.
Husky?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Now, these guys are playful.
Yeah.
They love to play.
Okay.
They're agile. They're alert. They're nimble. And they love play. They're known for
play.
Yeah, they're known for their unique physical traits. They have an extra toe.
An extra toe?
And an ability to bend their neck backwards.
All right. This dog sounds freaky, man.
Friendly and energetic. And they love exploration. They're good to take on a hike or camping. But yeah, have you seen their foot?
No, I haven't. I'm going to look that up right now. Lundhound.
It is
foot.
Very interesting.
Feet. What?
They literally have an extra toe.
Ow! No, I hate this.
Yeah, it looks like it should be in like a glass jar full of green liquid in a scientist's lab.
Oh God, there's one where you can oh my God, this makes the all bad. Oh, I do not want this dog anywhere near me.
It is pretty strange. I would still hang out with this dog.
I might. Honestly, everything was looking really good until it was like, look at its feet.
It's a little bit of a mutant. But that's cool.
Weird. Okay, what kind of tree would this be? It's got to be a little playful. It's got to have weird feet.
Yeah, it's got to have a tree that grows like an extra of something.
It grows an extra of something.
Yeah, like why do you do that?
Oh,
like
man.
2 flowers or something.
Yeah. So a double flowered tree would have multiple petals or something inside each one of the individual flowers.
Yeah.
Okay. This one's too hard because it feels like a freak of a tree.
Casey.
It does. I'm sorry. I'm saying it the way I call it. I'm calling it the way I see it.
This is one of God's creatures.
It is not. This is one of humans' creatures, Alex. This is a man-made thing.
I understand. That's fair.
I just want to say
there's a photo of a woman bending its neck backwards like she's going to cut its throat or something.
That is horrifying.
I don't know, just to show that it can do it. Leave it alone. Jesus Christ.
Okay. All right. So Korean fur.
Wow.
Abies koreana. And there's specifically a variety that's mostly planted where the needles curl around entirely. And so they bend entirely backwards. So they look like they are inside out. So you see the 2 lines of stomata on the bottom on the outside as they curl around.
Very interesting.
And they also tend to revert their cones back to normal shoots. So cones are just modified leaves on a shoot. So that shoot can sometimes revert back to just being a normal shoot, and then it will just keep growing normal, and then like needles will come out instead of bracts or scales or something. It's very strange, and it looks like a complete it just looks like something went wrong where the tree's like, oh, never mind, stop, just grow like a normal branch, and so it like reverts back.
Yeah.
So it looks like a genetic mistake.
They had to hit the emergency stop button in the factory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that is how I feel about this dog. It's a hard connection to make, but based on the 2 important characteristics, it being a mutated freak and
Casey.
This lady bending the neck back, it makes me think this has got to be that kind of weird fur tree.
I will say about this Korean fur. Have we ever done this Korean fur cone for our Cone of the Month Club?
We have not.
Oh my God. I'm gonna make that a priority. These are incredible looking. What a funny little guy. Casey, our next dog is
Xoloitzcuintli.
I'm sorry. One more time.
Xoloitzcuintli.
Xoloitzcuintli.
Xoloitzcuintli. Now these Mexican hairless dogs are loyal, surprisingly calm, and very protective.
Okay.
They have ancient roots, this says.
Yeah.
They're known for their quiet demeanor and strong bond with the family that they belong to. They're excellent watchdogs, and they thrive in calm, consistent environments, making them great for households seeking a low-maintenance, affectionate dog. I don't know how calm and consistent a family home is, but there you have it.
Okay. Well, it's all those things are ironic to me because this dog looks like a mutant version of a Doberman Pinscher, which kind of looks like a scary dog. You know, like the cats of the Egyptians, they were like the skin or the hairless cats.
Yeah.
It looks like that, but it looks like it will eat you, and it also is a gargoyle.
Okay. That's so rude.
It's not rude. I'm just.
Would you say that to its
describing it.
face?
I would say that to its
Well,
face. Well, maybe not because I don't want it to bite my face, but apparently it doesn't do that.
It's obedient. They look a bit like the hyenas from Lion King.
Oh yeah.
A few of these, they're hairless except for a hilarious little mohawk down the center of its head.
I've also seen some that looks like they have a tuft on the ends of their tails.
Yes, yeah, a little like feather duster.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, not great looking dogs. I also just learned that there is one of these dogs in the movie Coco.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I can see that.
Pixar's Coco.
Okay.
Yeah, Case, what do you think? I mean, this is, God, this This is a fascinating one.
This is a fascinating one. This one, to me, the first things that starts to jump out at me are the fact that A, it's like very dark, shiny skin slash
onyx.
slash fur. Yeah, it's really off-putting if you look at it too much like I am. What I also see is, or what I hear rather from you, is that it likes stable environments, which you noted sometimes a family home doesn't quite reach that description.
Sure.
But the idea that, so if we're translating this to trees, I hear that this should be like a later succession, or maybe it should grow in a place where not a lot happens. And this, to me, you can see it looks very muscular because there's obviously no fur on it.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I can see the sinew on every bone.
Yes. Yeah, you can see every vein in this dog.
Yeah. So it makes me think of like a tree that is growing in a place that doesn't get a lot of disturbance, that likes to be kind of just mellow. It's just going to keep growing at its own rate, but it's very strong and has that like sinuous kind of bark that's growing out.
Where are you headed with this?
Well, I'm headed in two places. One is the mountain mahogany, because they tend to grow in these kind of rough, stable environments. Not a lot of fires come through necessarily, and they just kind of sit there and kick it. But they don't match the demeanor of the dog.
Sure.
But then I think of something like an ironwood, like a Japanese, not ironwood, what do we call it? Pinus japonica, which is the Japanese hornbeam. They have really intensely smooth dark gray bark that's very kind of muscly looking.
Yes.
And that is what I would think of, but they don't tend to grow in spaces where you're like, a nice calm forested area. I guess you could.
Man,
I might go with the Japanese hornbeam for this one.
I like that. I think the bark alone is enough to give it to this one.
For the Japanese hornbeam?
I mean, it looks like a living thing.
Yeah.
It looks
really
like
is
a
beautiful.
muscled skeleton structure with skin.
Yeah. I'm glad that you agree with me on this.
Pretty upsetting.
It's pretty upsetting. I don't like the way you're talking about that tree, Alex, right in front of me. And everything.
I just want to say, you can talk about dogs however you want. I don't need to get offended for the dogs.
Thank you.
One more case.
Okay.
This is the Lagotto Romagnolo.
Lagotto Romagnolo. Now, you're sure this isn't a pasta?
I'll have the Lagotto Romagnolo.
Oh, man. This is a truffle dog in every regard.
They are just the most adorable.
They are literally the opposite of the dog we just saw.
Yes.
Instead of having no fur, all of its fur is jerry curled from top to bottom.
It's true. Yeah.
That is something for sure.
It looks like a tight shag carpet.
Yeah. A tight shag carpet that is also like somewhat needy.
If you ask me, this is one adorable dog, especially the puppies, because their fur is like growing over their eyes.
Yeah.
And it looks like they can barely see anything.
So
Oh, look at this picture.
Oh, get out of here. No, I'm not giving into it.
Almost looks like AI. And these are truffle seeking dogs.
They seem like, I'm familiar with truffle things, and this is the type of dog that I generally see. Did I know the breed name? No.
Well,
but
now
you
do.
could tell by the curly hair of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Alex. So for me,
Home oak.
Home oak is the home oak done. What? Okay, give me some descriptions.
Oh,
of,
yes, right.
Of this dog's demeanor.
Well, these dogs are friendly. They're hardworking. They're energetic.
Okay.
Were originally bred to hunt truffles, Casey. It's true. But they're also just very cheerful and outgoing. They love to work. They're very trainable.
Yeah.
They're great for families
Okay.
who enjoy outdoor adventures.
I'm thinking of a plant. Thinking of a tree. It's got tight curly leaves.
Leaf.
Everything is curly, and it grows, and everyone likes it. The curly hair, I could think of like some trees that have very curly leaves, specifically some cultivars. But then I also think of like, well, what about if I think of a bunch of flowers that have very like curly, frilly, fringed kind of petals on them? But the tree itself is also lovable and hardworking, all that kind of thing.
Sure.
That's hard.
Okay.
But I could probably come up with something. But I'm having a hard time. This dog is stumping me.
I felt like your therapist for a moment.
Thank you very much for listening. This one's hard. It's a hard one to kind of like imagine. I honestly, the thing that I come back to still is the black locust. This feels like a black locust of a dog.
Okay.
Does that really meet any strict requirements? No. Dogs like this, they got these curly hairs. They are energetic. They'll grow anywhere. They'll have a good time. They got flowers that are in tight bunches like these curly hairs. It's a stretch, Alex.
Casey's fed up.
This is a hard one. This, I think, is the hardest family tree we've had to do.
Well, that's That's exciting. We like challenges.
We sure do. I'm going to say black locust, and that's my final answer.
Okay. All right. Well, that was Family Tree Dog Breed Edition. We hope you enjoyed it. Casey, it's time for our Completely Arbitrary AMA. If you want to ask a question on the podcast, become a Treemium member at arbitrarypod.supercast.com. That is ARBORTRARY pod.supercast.com. This week, Casey, we got one from Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
Brenda sent a link to a photo asking, please ID this tree.
I love these questions.
And Brenda says, I found this tree several times in Iceland. And haven't been able to figure out what it is. The first settlers of Iceland used up all their trees in the first 800 years. So it's not native to Iceland. I think the bark is very distinctive, yet no picture on the internet seems to correspond to it. You can roll the needles between your fingers, and they are three-sided. I'm going back to Iceland next month and would love to be able to tell my travel companions the tree species.
I also would love for you to do that.
Thank you, Brenda. Yeah, Casey, what do you think? We're looking at a conifer.
Yep.
I see cones.
Yes.
I see sort of plumous-looking branches.
Yeah. Notice anything about those branches and how many needles of this conifer, because it's a needle-like leaved conifer, how many are on each branch?
Lots.
Many.
Like, very dense.
Very dense, almost furry.
It looks like a pipe cleaner.
Yeah, totally. This, I am almost 100% positive, is a bristlecone pine.
Bristlecone pine?
Bristlecone pine. That's right. It's not native to this area, for sure.
Iceland? A bristlecone pine in Iceland?
That is what I think, Alex, yes.
A black sheriff?
A black sheriff?
That's Blazing Saddles.
That is Blazing Saddles. I love Blazing Saddles. It's one of the funniest movies. Alex, I believe that is the case, and here's why. So very few conifers will keep their needles for as long as the bristlecone pines. They keep their needles sometimes up to 40 years, but often it's very common to have them for 20 years at a time, which means all of their main branches tend to look very fuzzy. All the way down, way more than you'd expect, because of course every year that it grows, it keeps all of the needles from the previous years. So you end up getting these trees with what look like sweaters all the way down all of their twigs.
Yeah.
And they also have cones that are, it's hard to zoom in the view that I see here, but the cones probably have little bristly tips and they're probably covered in resin. And depending on which species this is, there's two that are likely to be the two options. One is Pinus aristata. Pinus aristata is the Colorado bristlecone pine, and then there is the Intermountain bristlecone pine, which is Pinus longeva. Longeva, that is the oldest one. That's the one famous for being the oldest trees in the entire world. They're really very rare in cultivation, but the Colorado bristlecone pine, aristata, is actually quite common. You can find them along the streets right here in Portland. And you can identify them. Yeah, it's kind of strange. You wouldn't expect it. But yeah, you can find it. I know exactly where one is off of Interstate Avenue in North Portland.
Cool.
You can find them growing as planted trees more often where it gets very cold. So if you go up to Alaska, you go to Anchorage, they're all over the place because they can take those conditions because they grow at such high elevations where it's just infeasible for anything else to grow there.
Good point. I always think of bristlecone pine as like a hot weather tree because they grow, the ones that I know of grow in Southern California.
Yeah, but at 10 or 11,000 feet.
Yes, it's still cold even in the desert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So that is, that's my guess. And so that specifically the aristata, Colorado bristlecone pine, because that one's much more common in cultivation.
Now, let me say one thing.
Yeah.
I trust you.
Uh-huh.
But the bark on this one is that kind of studded bark.
Yeah, it kind of looks like diamond plate a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that a bristlecone pine thing?
It is, but this is kind of a younger tree, so it's just
Okay.
on its way to becoming old and developing all that.
All
But yeah,
right.
that's not out of the ordinary for it.
Fantastic. Well, there you go, Brenda.
Yeah. One last thing, Brenda, as you're going back to identify it, take a close look at the needles and see if there's a little drop of sap on almost every single individual needle, a drop of resin.
At the tip there?
Not at the tip, just somewhere along the kind of blade of the needle.
Weird.
Because that is, they have little resin glands, and they're, of the three species, the other one is the foxtail pine, Pinus balfouriana. They have individual droplets of resin along the needles, and the other two do not. So that's a great way to identify it, or at least narrow it down. If it doesn't have that, you know it's one of the other two species.
Fabulous.
There you go.
Nice idea, in case.
Well, I just do my best because, I wrote a book about it.
Thank you, Brenda, for your question. We hope you have fun in Iceland. Be safe. And if you've got a question for us, like I said, become a Treemium member, arbitrarypod.supercast.com. Or if you just want to support the podcast, get cool things in return, join the Cone of the Month Club. Last month was the longleaf pine.
That's right.
Very cool cone. On fire, I might add.
It's so beautiful, and that's just the whole thing, because there was a whole series of it. It
Yes.
turns out that we are now 2/3 of the way through.
That's right. So it was jack pine, longleaf pine. This month, our cone is not announced yet, but if you become a Treemium member and you missed out on that longleaf pine, but you really want it, you gain access to the Treemium shop, where you have just a Willy Wonka amount of options. It's like walking into his big showroom.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. You can try every single one of the candies.
Yes. All right, Casey, clap.
Alex Crowson, I'll see you next week.
All right, bye.
Completely Arbortrary is hosted by Casey Clapp and Alex Crowson.
Our music is by Aves and the Mini Vandals, and our artwork is by Jillian Barthold.
To support the podcast and get rewards in return, become a Treemium member at arbitrarypod.supercast.com.
Thanks for listening.